Hello everyone, and welcome in or welcome back. It's lovely to see you again, and I hope you guys are doing so very well. Today I have, as always, a very exciting series to share with you. This one is one that I've been looking forward to for a very long time, and I pre-ordered them right when they were made available. This is the Fashionable Cute Girls series from BonBonPocket, which I believe is something of a sister or offshoot company of Bonbon Galaxy, which has previously had experience making resin dolls, and so when they put out this line of 1/6 scale dolls inspired by various fashion styles, I was very excited to see how they all looked. They all have very distinct and unique inspirations, and I'm very excited to share them all with you because today we're going to be opening the full set of them. So as the same as I did with the Minties, today we're going to cover the core dolls of the set, and then in another video I will cover the hanging card, the recolor bonus, and the hidden, as well as any extras that came with my full set pre-order. So featured on the front of the box is Aqua Angel, one of the characters from the core set, and I quite love the background of the box that they've put here. I enjoy the array of colors quite a bit, a lot of them being more pastel and featuring these cute drawings like the ice cream, the heart wrapped in a ribbon, these little party hats, and there's also some cat candy on the bottom. So if we look on the side of the box, we can talk a little bit about which dolls are in the base set. So this one here is Corrupted Heart, Enamored Heart, Popping Candy, Aqua Angel, Paradise Lost, and Virtual Dream. And what I love about this series is that they do have printed on faces as opposed to having something like inset eyes, but the art style on each doll is very distinct and unique, and each of them have a different style fitting of their fashion subgenre. Without further ado, I think we should get right into opening our first box, as we do have quite a few dolls to cover today. Sometimes when I pre-order a doll set so long ago, it almost feels kind of surreal to actually have them in my hands, especially because this was one that I was so incredibly excited for. But I did order these ones from Cherry Goods, and though the hanging card did not make it in my order, I was able to get that resolved very easily, so I do urge to check out and support that small shop. Definitely one with really superb customer interaction. Okay, so let's see who's the first one in our box. 1, 2, 3. Oh, looks like the very first one we opened is Paradise Lost. So it seems like the components of the box are really quite simple. We have the character card here featuring the character art, clothing packet, a few pairs of hands, some shoes, and the main doll herself. So we'll go ahead and start with looking at the base doll and then look at everything else that she comes with. So there is our very first doll, Paradise Lost, and I have to say I'm really quite a fan of the scale of the body. They have pretty long legs, but the knee joints look really nice actually. Very clean and very smooth. The plastic feels pretty good, and the stringing feels quite nice too. I think their previous experience with doing the resin dolls is really showing. So she does have a bonnet on her head that is black with a white band going across and a white trim along the edge here. This is attached to her head via a couple pegs. Now I don't mind the fact that this is attached via pegs, though I will say that having those gaps does limit customization just a little bit if that's something that bothers you. I'm sure that because of the placement of them, they could easily be hidden by other hats. In any case, with her hair is this blonde color that fades off into something of a more orangey tone at the ends. She has blunt cut bangs, as well as framing pieces of her hair are also bluntly cut, but the rest of it is tied back into these two hair drills that stop just around her shoulders. The hair sculpt is quite beautiful as well. I'll say the hair is also quite firmly attached. So there's what the head looks like without the hair. On the inside of the head, there's just a small notch to keep the neck card in place. The neck card is a fairly standard shape, though I find that the S-hook is actually a little bit different from the ones that I've seen before. As far as her head itself goes, there's faint blushing on the inner corners of her eyes, on the tip of her nose, and inside her ears. The rest of her features in comparison are drawn in a much bolder black, and that goes for the eyebrows, the eye creases, the eyelashes, the bulk of her eye, as well as her mouth, which is just in a stoic dot. She does have one subtle eye highlight, as well as the gray going at the bottom of her eyes to indicate her eye color. Though her faceplate is quite simple, I do find that the style seems a little bit reminiscent of older Bishoujo games or older visual novels in terms of the simplicity of the face details. Quickly going over the points of articulation, we have the neck, the torso, the shoulders, the elbows, the wrists, her legs, there's thigh swivel, there's knees, and her feet at the ankles. There is an interesting little metal bit there on the feet, though I'm not totally sure what that's intended for. The sculpting on the body is also quite nice. She has a petite build, and there's quite a little bit of detail into the tummy. Her belly button is cute. So having covered the base doll, we can go over what she comes with. So the doll does arrive with an additional 4 sets of hands, and that includes ones that are slightly closed fists, pointed fingers, and wide open palms. By default, she comes with relaxed open palms. So here are her shoes. They are fairly matte, but they are all solidly one color of just black and do have a couple details in the sculpt itself, such as the belt over top that does have a buckle as well as a snap, and the large platforms at the bottom. In the front there does also appear to be an additional rectangle. Here's her dress, which has flared sleeves and a big poofy skirt. It is primarily just black and white, but it does alternate between the colors to add quite a bit of visual interest. So the bulk of the dress is going to be black, but the white details fall onto various styles of lace. So there's lace along the edge, 2 stripes of it in the center, 1 along the edge of the bodice, 2 ribbons in the middle of the chest, and another layer of lace that details the collar. For the sleeve, it is gathered at the shoulders here and flares out into a layer of white ruffles that is decorated with a bow. The white ruffles then lead out into a layer of black fabric that leads into black ruffles with the same style of lace decorating the trim. Now the style of dress, from what I could tell, does seem to be inspired by old school Lolita, where it is a simpler JSK and silhouette, but still focuses on certain details like lace and frills. This appears to be the inner lining for her bonnet, which is a layer of decorated lace attached to a strip of elastic to pull around her head. After all the pair of white socks, I'm actually quite intrigued by these ones. So it appears that these are about knee-length socks, and they do have our standard white ruffle at the top, but they do also have a very long black ribbon attached to them, 2 of them, to wrap around her legs and tie just like in her character card. I believe that covers all of the pieces that she comes with, so let's go ahead and get her dressed up now. A nice note about the Velcro on the dress, it only goes down to about halfway through the dress at the end of the bodice here, which lets the lace on the skirt run seamlessly as opposed to being interrupted by the strip of Velcro. So there is Paradise Lost all dressed up. I think she is a very lovely take on the old school Lolita, and the hair, the bonnet, the dress, all of those components definitely come together to create something that is quite reminiscent of this sort of character archetype from older shows. When it comes to dolls that are showcasing Lolita, such as Tulip's collaborations with Lolita brands, a lot of those represent things like Sweet Lolita or Classic Lolita, or they're quite detailed cords, so it's kind of fun to see a subdued take on old school Lolita for this one. So as usual, I like to compare their scale to other dolls of their size. So here she is next to the 1/6 Lucky Festival series. This one does have more of those YOSD proportions, meaning the thicker body and the larger head. So standing at the same scale, these two are the same height, but do carry different size proportions depending on what you're looking for. Also falling slightly more under the category of YOSD are the TV cats, who are significantly larger. The cute girls do, in this case, also have longer legs than the TV cats. Finally, here she is with Sea Salt Cap from the UF Doll T series, also standing at 1/6 scale. The bonbons are slightly taller, with longer legs, a larger body. However, most of the height on the UF dolls is certainly due to their ears. So that about covers everything on Paradise Lost, so we'll go ahead and set her off to the side for now, and let's go take a look at our second doll. And this one is Enamored Heart. So there is her character card. I think this design is so cute. This one I was just absolutely in love with when she was revealed. Look at that, her hair is so pretty. So her hair is entirely black, but she does have a couple pink accessories. So there are 2 clips that are a light pink in the front of her hair, as well as some hair ties that tie off her hair into this cute little heart before going off into the twin tails. Her hair is also used to make a braided hairband at the top of her head. This hairstyle is just so lovely and so sweet, and gosh, I just love it so much. It's so pretty. Her face up carries more colors than our previous one did. So she has her eyebrows drawn in a dark red, and that dark red or pink toned color also makes up her eyes. So there is a darker red at the top, fading off into something of a dustier pink, and at the top of her eyes are little hearts, as well as the pupil at the bottom is in a lighter pink. Her expression is fairly subdued. So she comes with all of the same hands, but for her shoe sculpt, though it is the same sculpt and also in the same black, the top belt is pink with a gray buckle to add a little bit of a difference difference with her shoes. She also comes with this little sign that's very detailed, covered in frills of pink and black and bows, and the little handle here has an additional heart to it. Moving on to her clothing packet. So we'll start with her wrist cuffs, which are a black translucent fabric, and then a pink strip of translucent fabric also details the center of it. As opposed to the plain white socks we usually see with these dolls, she actually has a pair of asymmetrical socks, with the longer one being a translucent fishnet and the other one being a translucent black one. And this one is almost done in a mesh tone. Here's her dress, which is based on the style of Jiraike. Now Jiraike does have a couple controversies around it due to the promotion or idea of it being based on girl of explosive mental health. It does incorporate girly elements with darker colors to kind of evoke that mysterious feeling. That said, because of the controversial name, some people do prefer to encompass this style under things like dark girly instead, which kind of follow the similar ideas. Rather than specific styles, it's more about the overall coordinate. In any case, she has this soft pink for the blouse, and that pink is used throughout the dress in these crosses on the skirt and the frill along the edge of her skirt. Black accessories do decorate the top section of the blouse, with there being a black ribbon in the middle, black on each side of the sleeves, and black as an accent to the collar. She has a small belt that wraps around the waist here that does have a buckle, and the black skirt, though kind of difficult to see on camera, does actually have some different layers of gathering and frills. The backside is quite plain and the cross pattern does not carry on to the back. Styles like Jiraike or Menhera even can be a little bit controversial due to the associations with negative mental health and kind of the glorification of them, but I do think that there is power in being able to reclaim some of those things and reclaim some of that injury as a way of self-expression. That said, I do think that it's a fairly personal opinion and valid regardless of which stance you take on whether or not you're comfortable or uncomfortable with them. Though certainly this style of dark girly has definitely been becoming increasingly popular, and it's even been appearing within doll styles quite a bit here, as the Electronics Pet series also has a doll inspired by the same style. I'm quite drawn to the incorporation of pastels to the dark colors, so it's one that I am quite intrigued by. And as someone who's had my share of mental health related experiences and has always tried to speak quite candidly with them, I do think there's catharsis in being able to consume some of these ideas in a safe or unharmful way. That said, as these things leave their niches and become increasingly popular, I can also understand the concern over the potential accessorization of things like severe mental health issues. Not a topic that I have all the time in the world to discuss in a doll review video, but certainly one that I always find very interesting. So there's Enamored Heart all dressed up, and I think she's so beautiful, and I love the fact that she actually comes with wrist accessories, because part of my complaint with the last couple series is that their wrists always felt very bare compared to the outfits that they had. I think her hairstyle is so lovely, and honestly, I'm kind of blown away by just how endearing and beautiful they are. My only issue is that while dressing her up, I did notice that there was a rip in the socks. I'm not sure if this was here before or if it happened while I was dressing her up, but that is kind of a risk that's taken when you use really delicate designs like this for mesh fabric. Hi! So, a quick little side note, but as I was cleaning things up, there actually was a second sock that fell out of one of the boxes. I don't know where it came from. I assume it came from her own box. Regardless, this one does not have a hole in it, and this is the sock that I originally opened from the packet that did. So if I had to wager a guess, I assume it was checked over and did not pass quality assurance, and then they just stuck another sock into the box. But rest assured, my doll does not have a ripped sock. Okay, enjoy the video, bye. But despite that, I do think she's absolutely lovely. I am so obsessed with like the splashes of pink in her design because I think it just makes her look so cute, especially using it for her face and her eyes. Her face doesn't necessarily look very gentle or very soft, but she definitely encompasses some of those ideas that I mentioned when talking about the dark girly style, where you incorporate those splashes of light colors like pink to invoke something sort of mysterious amongst all of the dark colors and dark motifs of their design. So absolutely beautiful, and certainly one of my favorites of the set. She is so beautiful in person. I've been very impressed by the general quality of these. Setting her off to the side, and we'll go on to our third doll of the series. This one is also incredibly unique, so I'm excited to see how this one looks. This one is Corrupted Heart, if I remember correctly, and there she is on her character card. So it does seem like all the dolls use the same shoe sculpt, just painted differently to be personalized to their color palette. Oh wow, look at that! She's so striking! Her hair is very spiky and pulled back into these two high pigtails pigtails. It's this lovely dark red color that fades off in some sections, such as her framing pieces, into just a slightly darker red or kind of a black tinge to it. And on the upper part of her hair here, she has a couple clips, 2 4-sided twinkles, as well as 1 large white star with the inside hollowed out. Now I'm very intrigued by her face up because I feel like it's so stylized and so distinct. This one is really beautiful. The bulk of her face up is drawn in black and various tones of gray. However, she does have some points of red to add interest to her face, including some little cheek blushes as well as the creases of her eyes. Her eyes themselves are super sharp with very graphic lashes, and the inside pupil is so stylized and so interesting, with the bottom half being dark and the upper portion being gray and the outer border of the eye being gray as well. Her style is very geometric. It does seem like this one came with just the lightest smudge of paint on her chest, but since that will be easily covered up by her clothes, it's not something that I'm too concerned about. For her shoes, the top parts are white, with the buckle being gray and red. The bottom platforms continue to be just black. This one does have a little bit of a white paint scuff, and the front parts here are red. So we'll start with her top, which is a sleeveless turtleneck, and adorably is a graphic that seems to feature her as a demon holding a scythe. The decal looks really, really good. That's so cute. I didn't even notice what was on her shirt before. She has 2 sleeves for an asymmetrical look, with the left one being red and white striped, and the right one being white with a red cross. At the bottom of each one also has belts, so the left one has a black belt with a gray buckle, and the other one has just a gray strap. Here is her skirt, which is in this gingham pattern and also features a safety pin. The safety pin actually is functional and can come off, which maybe that's kind of obvious that they just stuck a safety pin in there, but I don't know, I thought that was very cool. She has 1 legging that is black and white striped, and over top of those are going to be these fluffy black leg warmers. She has the silver necklace with a black cross in the center, an additional strap bracelet for her wrist, and it appears that this is a silver chain necklace. I forgot to mention it, but at the end of the silver chain is a little heart charm. So I believe her influence of dress kind of falls to sort of goth punk styles, which were sort of influenced by Western movements and punk rock music. So her design carries quite a few of those iconic rebellious elements, like the chains, the safety pins, and the really sharp and geometric shape language that is prevalent through her design. This doll is a little bit unconventional, and I don't believe I have any other dolls that follow this design note, so this one's quite an exciting one to add to my collection. So there is Corrupted Heart all dressed up. I have to admit, dolls that are this style aren't usually what I gravitate towards. I tend to gravitate way more towards like the neutral tone dolls or food themed dolls, so on. Very cutesy styles, very frilly styles, and usually incorporates some sweets or whatever. But I have to say, the layered elements, all of the different kind of mixed media of this doll makes her extremely interesting to me. She has so many different textures in terms of her arm warmers are 2 different kinds of fabrics. She has a couple different patterns like the skirt, the stripes, her decal, but the inclusion of plastic beads and metal charms, the little straps, and the faux fur, this one is just such an interesting and detailed doll that something like this definitely breaks the mold of what I'm used to, and I think that that's a good thing, both in terms of what goth punk styles kind of represent in terms of breaking the mold and breaking out of what is traditionally tailored for girls, we'll say. A doll that represents this kind of fashion is really interesting, and I think something that I would love to see explored more. I kind of mentioned it in the 10K video that there were people that really gravitated towards dolls that could represent edgier ideas or edgier styles, and I think including those more regularly or having more doll lines that use that as a basis and are able to draw inspiration from a lot of these rebellious movements that kind of inspired individuality would be a really fascinating and really interesting and also a very inclusive direction for companies to go into. Anyway, kind of a long ramble, but I just thought that this doll was extremely interesting, being such an edgy style doll among all these other ones that represent generally very cutesy styles. She definitely still has a lot of those cute elements to her, but I just appreciate what it means to include something like this. Setting her aside, and we'll move on to the next one. There is her character card, and now looking at the doll, her hair is pulled back into these 2 short braids, and her hair is actually quite messy, with a lot of it poking out at the back. There are little purple hair ties tying her braids, and I do like that for all of them, any hair accessories they have are painted, even small ones like little hair ties and stuff, just helps add a little bit of detail to these already beautiful hair sculpts. So there is the face up. Her eyelashes are also drawn much more round. Her eyebrows are shorter and also more expressive than some of our other dolls. Some of her facial details are drawn in a pink toned red, such as her eye creases or the underneath of her eye. Her eyes themselves are drawn quite long and quite big, with large highlights and an additional smaller highlight underneath that, but the overall eye is pink with a lighter pink towards the bottom of them. She has a smiling expression, and overall this face up is really quite cheery. As far as her clothes go, she has a little pink fabric choker, a multicolored sweater that ranges from pink, yellow, blue, purple, and green and white. There is hot pink for the ends of the sleeves, as well as a hot pink bow in the center. Her arm warmers are of the same fabric that makes up that little sweater. She has a tank top to go over top of the sweater, which is just a light pink color, and uses some little ribbons for the tank top straps. Her jeans, which I think are so cute, are kind of a mid-tone blue, and at the very top have something of a skirt laying over it, with hot pink ruffles, a white belt with a pink strap, and on the bottom are cutouts, where the cutouts of the denim have been replaced with this polka dotted lace, and a button at the opening. She also has a bandana, also made out of denim, and there are little tassels made out of ribbon and pom-poms at the end of them, colored in blue. As with the other dolls, she uses the same platformer shoe sculpt, but hers are entirely pink. The buckles are just ever so slightly a lighter pink, as well as the front of the shoes. For her outfit, I couldn't find an exact style to refer to as far as the name goes, but I believe she's supposed to be inspired somewhat out of Y2K fashion, which has been getting increasingly popular for those sort of nostalgic purposes. Some of the layered pieces, like the layered tank top over top of the sweater, definitely seem reminiscent of that, in addition to the skirt over top the jeans, and honestly, the inclusion of denim and the denim cutouts, I think, always remind me to sort of that early mall culture. So there's Poppin' Candy all dressed up, and I do find her to be incredibly adorable. I think her design is really unique, and for that reason, it may be something that is a little bit hit or miss with people's tastes. After all, it's not very often that you get dolls with pants, let alone dolls with jeans. The style that she's pulling from, even though I couldn't give it an exact name or an exact reference, definitely evokes a lot of those feelings of nostalgia for me. I also adore the fact that her expression is certainly inspired by early shoujo manga or early maho shoujo, and the way that they have incorporated these layered pieces with bright colors and bright patterns definitely also feels kind of inspired towards those genres as well. The quality of the clothing also all feels very nice. The jeans feel quite thick and they're nice and form-fitting to her doll body. I will say that the arm warmers are kind of rolling up a little bit, just as they aren't really hemmed on the edges there. So with her covered, let's go ahead and move on to our second last doll of the series. There is her character card. So her hair is quite long, I believe the longest out of the base set dolls, and it is this beautiful light blonde where one side is tied off into just a little tiny side ponytail. Her expression is very somber, but I do think the inclusion of the white eyelashes look very angelic on her. The other aspects of her face are drawn in varying colors of blue or red, so the dark blue is used for her eyebrows, the outlines of her eyelashes, the underneath of her lower lashes, and red is used for the eye creases and seem to signify some sort of eye bags underneath her eyes there. Her mouth is open and just sort of an aloof expression, and for her eyes themselves, they are very rectangular, with crosses being the highlights in the center. They are kind of a muted blue color with a lighter blue highlighting the bottom. So here is her neck warmer, which is all white except for a blue cross that is decaled into the center. She has two leg warmers with little angel wings colored in light blue at the bottom, a hairband that is made of lace with light blue ribbons on each side. Her top here is a little bit hard to explain, but it is this interesting long baggy top with this interesting cutout at the end. The sleeves and the top part of the shirt here are light blue, and the sleeves have white ribbon running along them. There are also some frills at the end that are satiny. The outer layer is a darker blue than the inner layer. The back side of the top is also white, and in the front side, the cutout part here is white with some embroidered white crosses, as well as a bead of angel wings here. Her pants are a pair of short shorts with leg garters made out of a strip of ruffles, and for her shoes, they are primarily light blue to match her color palette, as well as having the buckles be just silver and the front little rectangle of the shoe there being in white. Now for this one, I had a harder time pinning down exactly what her clothing inspiration is. I think it's been clear, but I'm not an expert in fashion by any means, and if anything, I just have a little bit of a personal interest in it as someone who enjoys drawing and designing characters. Still, from what I could tell, I think that this design had some elements of cyber to it in the aspects of the silhouette and kind of the interesting and unique cutouts of clothing clothing, along with the baggy silhouette of the top. By all means, if anyone is better informed of what style she's trying to pull from, I would love to know. In my original filming of this video, I came to the conclusion that her outfit had elements of cyber, which I don't think is an incorrect observation, but I wasn't necessarily happy with that conclusion either because I felt like it didn't encompass quite what she was going for. So I ended up doing a little bit more research and found that angel core or cyber angel core exists, although it exists as a very broad term where the main defining trait of it is the fact that it uses this blue and white colorway, which you can kind of see across all of these outfits here. And this style does seem to have its roots in kind of cyber or tech wear themed fashion. But that said, the actual term of angel core or cyber angel core doesn't necessarily have the strongest foundation or strongest community because it kind of just takes heavy inspiration from other subgenres, and so looking at the actual variation when people use this tag is so vague and broad that it really doesn't have a distinct identity. I still wanted to include it because I felt like it does kind of have the same elements of the doll that we're talking about, where there's sort of a root in the cyber silhouette and uses the blue and white colorway. But that said, whether this is considered its own subgenre is a little bit of a community-based opinion. I just felt like it was worth mentioning because it seemed a little bit closer to what I was trying to talk about. Okay, bye. So there's Aqua Angel all dressed up. I definitely find her to be a very interesting design. One aspect that I do really like is that promotional photos do include her usually covering her mouth, and with her tiny little open mouth, it's kind of just like, gah. It's just so cute. I don't know. There's something really cute when her mouth peeks out for a little bit. I don't really have better ways to articulate it, but I just find her to be really cute with her big baggy sleeves and her tiny little open mouth. Out of all of them, I do think this outfit is my least favorite, but I find that the base doll for this one is particularly beautiful. I think if they included some sort of snap so that this part could actually be tucked in properly, then that might help a little bit. But because it's kind of just a floating little strip here, I don't love the way that it looks. So I think that this is probably one that I would enjoy redressing, but there are elements that I do really like, because I'm quite a fan of how they've included the leg warmers for each one of them. That's definitely a nostalgic article of clothing that gets incorporated into various subgenres of street fashion. It also kind of breaks up the monotony of her legs just going on forever. In any case, that about covers this one here. So off to the side she goes, and then our last box. So here's her character card. Card arts for these have been absolutely beautiful. So as you can imagine, this doll was another one that I was quite interested. I wonder why, but I think her lavender tones are really lovely. So her hair is tied up into this long and wavy ponytail. It is primarily this lavender color, but does kind of fade off into a slightly darker purple. The center bangs are bluntly cut, and the rest of her framing pieces cover her face nicely, with the lower section being braided off into 2 strings of braids here. She has a beaded hair clip, and for her ponytail she has a pretty decorated hair bow, with the main section being black, the inner bow being purple, the middle gem being purple, and the back ribbon being purple. Her face is a little bit stoic, although also a fair bit concerned, but lavender kind of tinges throughout the design here as well. As most of her features are colored white, like her eyebrows and her eyelashes, they use this kind of light purple to draw the outlines of them. So that goes for the eyebrows, the eye creases, the lower eyelashes, the upper eyelashes, and her eyes themselves are kind of a light pink toned purple, and she has a small little pout, and it does seem like she has a very slight application of lip gloss. In comparison to everyone else, her outfit might actually be among the most minimal. So we'll start with her little wrist cuffs or hand warmers, which are just these layers of translucent purple fabric, her necklace, which is made of ruffles, as well as this choker with a purple heart buckle, a tank top with a black ribbon decal alongside a white heart with a purple stitch through it, and the tank top straps are also purple tinted frills. The bulk of the shirt itself is white with white frills at the very top as well, and purple frills on the very bottom. Her skirt is composed of 2 layers, with the overlayer being quite smooth and has the application of decals with 2 hearts with 2 ribbons and ruffles on the left and right, and an illustration of lace with a ribbon in the center. At the skirt part, there is a little bit more of those ruffles, and underneath is a black pleated skirt with purple bows. Her leg warmers are white with ruffles at the top and bottom in white. They both have black bows and have the same heart decal with a ribbon inside of it. For her shoe sculpts, they are lavender for the top parts with silver buckles, black for the platforms, and purple for those little rectangles at the front. Of what I was able to find about this style was that I think she leans into girly or casual girly, where they have a little little bit more of a focus on muted tones, but still emphasizes a lot of those cute girlish details with a soft atmosphere. So you can kind of prominently see those in aspects like a lot of the decals that are present, a lot of the frills that are present. All of those kind of add to the simple construction of the outfit itself, which is why I think that this is classified under casual girly. And of course, by the way, if I'm getting any of my information wrong and you happen to know what these styles are meant to be, or perhaps have some more insight on them, I would absolutely love to know. I just think the historical context and social context of why people dress certain ways and the use of clothing as a form of self-expression is so interesting. So while I looked up what I could and spent some time looking at magazines, I always tend to lose my words a little bit when I actually get on for filming. It's always possible that I have gotten some of the details wrong or that some of my notes are incomplete, and by which I would love to learn more. So there's Virtual Dream all dressed up. Now, I have to say, I do think she's very cute, and I think alone she was absolutely adorable. But I do kind of have mixed opinions on so many aspects of her outfit being relied on printed decals. There's some aspects of it where I feel like, for something like the over part of her skirt, I feel like this could have benefited from being physical aspects to it, rather than being printed. Now, my wonder is that if you add too many of the physical elements, if you add too many segments of lace and ruffles and embroidery and so on, if that kind of takes away from the idea of casual girly, where part of the charm is that it emphasizes these details while trying to keep it more subdued and wearable, in which case something like this is quite casual. That said, I often feel like when a lot of the details on the clothing rely too much on the printed aspects or on the decaled aspects, then it can kind of cheapen the look. Her outfit does use a couple decals with the red cross and the printed design on her shirt. She has a lot of visual texture to her outfit as well. There's metal, there's the shiny parts, there's the plastic on her collar, there's the faux fur, and all the different patterns. In comparison, Virtual Dream has a very plain outfit that's kind of detailed and decorated for emphasizing those decals. And for me, I think it's my preference that I would have liked more of those physical aspects just to add more visual interest. Even though I do find that the patterns are quite cute, it just feels a little bit plain compared to everyone else. And even on Enamored Heart, where she uses kind of similar elements, they do add some visual interest in the contrast of colors, the little bits of embroidery, her having mix-matched socks, and I end up kind of preferring the execution of those details over just the printed decals, even though this outfit is quite cute on its own. That said, I do think that if I didn't have the others to compare her to, that she's really quite cute. It's just that, to me, it just feels like there's a little something missing when I look at her compared to everyone else. However, I do think that among all of them, she probably does have one of my favorite hair sculpts. The wavy ponytail is really quite beautiful, and all of the bows at the top holding the ponytail are really pretty as well. I think her face up is also lovely. I just wish the outfit was done a little bit differently just to add a little bit more interest to it. In any case, that about covers my thoughts on Virtual Dream, and so let me go ahead and round everyone up and we'll have a bit of a discussion regarding the base set of dolls. It's always a bit hard to fit them all in there when when I'm in the way and when there are so many and they're also so large. But in any case, there they all are as a set, and I really do quite admire the way that they each represent their own subgenres of fashion, perhaps because they're all stylized so much, but there's a little bit of a visual cohesion between all of them, even though they're so vastly different from one another. Now, of all of them, I have to say my favorites probably go to Enamored Heart, Popping Candy, and Corrupted Heart, which is actually kind of a surprise to me, but I really do think that the execution of her outfit is just done so well. But whereas I do like Paradise Lost and Virtual Dream and Aqua Angel, there were various parts of them that I didn't love as much, but all of them I think are really fun, and they're all, I think, pretty strong representations of the different styles that they're incorporating. I would love to see how BonBonPocket could expand on this line and include more styles with even more variety, and I really can't think of anything that I would want specifically changed. To be honest, aside from the minor factory errors of just some paint smudges, the quality was really strong. I found that the hair sculpts were all beautiful. I really liked the way all their bodies look, and all of the clothes also felt really quite nice. And at the end of the day, some of my gripes just come from the fact that some of these styles just don't rely on the same ideas around accessorizing that, say, Corrupted Heart does. I think because they represent such a unique and distinct line of characters that they can cover a large range of interests. So whether that be that you're someone who's looking for a more goth punk style doll, there's someone for you, or if you're looking for something that's really cute and reminiscent of early shoujo, then there's Popping Candy. And if you're someone like me who just generally enjoys different executions of alternative fashion, then all of them were really quite beautiful and really interesting. They really were just honestly stunning dolls, and I'm really glad that I ordered all of them. I love all of them a lot, and the scale of them is really nice. I am partial to 1/6 scale dolls, even though the 1/12s are certainly easier to store. And I'm really quite excited to see both how the hidden, the hanging cart, and the virtual dream recolor bonus look. I am incredibly enamored with the way that all of them look, and I hope that if you were interested in any of them, then maybe this video helped you see the different aspects of them to maybe appreciate, or maybe the different backgrounds behind them to appreciate. I definitely think that they would look beautiful in other forms of clothing because all of the base dolls themselves are honestly just stunning as they are as well. In any case, I think that about wraps up my thoughts. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed me chatting about them, and if you're interested in them, then maybe consider checking them out from Cherry Goods. He does an absolutely lovely job and is very sweet and very kind, so I really do want to show support to him where I can. I know times are kind of looking tough right now, which is why it's important to hold on to these hobbies and things that you love and care about, and continue to make things worth smiling for. Please remember that you're loved. We'll get through this, and we'll make it one day at a time. Okay, take care, stay hydrated, bye-bye!